I actually listened to your latest single with a K.
Woo!
It's pretty popping. I like it. It's
What did you think of it?
well, all right. So
this matters now. If you don't like it, we're done in this business.
Then we're gonna take it. I'll take it down.
Ladies and gentlemen and non-binary, this is where it gets real serious. What I think of this new single, first song I've heard by you guys, to be honest.
Wow.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Rated G. I'm your host, G TERADO. If you are new here, welcome to the show. This is a podcast where I sit down with other artists and creators, and we simply just sit down and have honest discussions and conversations about our creative endeavors, and we just talk about our backgrounds, the ups and downs in pursuing these things. So if you enjoy this content, please be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you can keep up with all the current releases. And be sure to check out the show notes where I'll be providing links in case you want to continue to follow the featured guests. And those of you who are returning listeners and viewers, welcome back. Thank you for your continued support. And again, just if you haven't already, subscribe, whether you are tuning in via podcast or YouTube. And that's about it. Now, this is really exciting because I got a twofer over here. I got a package deal tonight. I'll kind of give a quick background story. One of them I've known for several years now. We were just talking about it. And she's an artist, a musician. You also are a yoga instructor, I believe.
Yep.
So I was like, you know what? Why not catch up? You know, I've followed her distantly, and we keep in touch every now and then. I was like, you know what? Gotta have her on the podcast. Plus, she is in a band. So obviously, me being a lover of music, I wanted to very much get into that. And so with that being said, accompanying her is the frontman, lead singer, and guitarist of The Extensions. So please welcome for the first time, Lisa, LoVell, and Brian Erickson.
Hey, everybody.
Well, it won't matter for the listeners, but the viewers, if you're wondering why you can't see Brian's face when he speaks, it's just technical difficulties. Let's just leave it at that. But he will be gracing this podcast with his voice. So
yeah, I'm joining you all from the void, from the comforts of the void, I should say.
you do. It adds a mysteriousness to it, though. I like that. So there's a nice little element we got going on here. Yeah, pleasure meeting you for the first time, Brian. But yeah, all right. Not gonna lie, gearing up to this, I'm like, how am I gonna handle this scenario? So I'm gonna go back to Lisa real quick, just to give a little more details on how we met years ago. I was invited to be a vendor at this women's mud wrestling tournament. I forget the town. It's like closer to South, like Central Jersey.
Oh, yeah. I think it was like close to Marlboro or something. I forget. It's out there. It's like close to Oldbridge or whatever.
Yeah, it was a hike for me.
Yeah.
So anytime it's like an hour and a half or like an hour drive, I'm like, I'm probably just going to head south. But yeah, I mean, this was it's a random event for me. But I met you there. You came by my table for because I was doing commissions on the spot. I was zombifying people. This was during my my zombie phase, and yeah, you came up with a friend, and I did a commission for you guys, and you were also playing that night, right? Because I think you're in a different band then,
Yep.
And since then, yeah, we just stayed in touch. And I did a couple of those events. They had that thing going on every summer. But yeah, that's pretty much how we knew each other.
Yep. Central Jersey pudding wrestling.
Yeah.
Was what it was. And I did manage to wind up in said pudding by the end of the evening. So
yeah.
I do remember this.
Thankfully I did not. I was also fortunate to judge the wrestling matches too. So
yes.
That was interesting. I really I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was for a good cause too, right? I think they were raising money. They were
yeah, it was for charity events. I don't remember what the charities were for, but so long ago.
Yeah, I forget too, and hopefully it went to the charities.
I'm sure.
Nah, I'm just fucking around. They're cool. They're cool peoples. Do you still talk to any of them?
Some here and there. It's just like,
okay,
it's where you are in life. Sometimes proximity. Sometimes people just venture off into different things. Mostly social media. Like, you'll see some people from afar doing things, but that's about it.
Exactly. All right. So now, Brian.
Yes.
So I only know you because of Lisa. You are in a band together, The Extensions. But before that, you were in a band called the Paper Jets.
That is correct. Yeah.
Like a decade.
Yes. Right? Yeah. We were together for a long time.
Yeah. Holy shit. Now how do you and like over the years the lineup had changed, like you had members coming in and out, right?
Yeah. We go ahead. What's the question?
Oh, I was just wondering how that process was handled. I imagine it's kind of exhausting to, I don't know, just go through those moments, multiple times or how many times.
Yeah, we kind of had. We were together for 10 years. It's funny too, because like it still I always feel like I have to justify what it is I'm doing, because there's so many people that they join a thing and then they join another, and then that stops and they join something else and that stops, and it's like, oh, you've been in a lot of bands, and it's like they've really been in the same band, for under 3 or 4 different names over the course of like a year or two. But so I always like to say, so thank you for saying we were together for a decade. Because usually when people are like, oh yeah, well, you had the Paper Jets and now you have this, I always feel like it weirdly almost like cheapens it, because, so then I have to kind of say like, oh no, we were together for a decade, and then the Extensions have been together in the 4 years since then, and that's really kind of been the only 2 bands I've been a part of. But with the Paper Jets, we kind of just had 2 lineups, like that's all. We basically had like, it's always been me. It's essentially always been myself and the drummer Frank, and we had another guitarist. We started with a guitarist and a bassist, and those 2 left, and then we got another guitarist, another bassist. Like it's a little more involved than that, but that's basically it. Like we just kind of flipped that around.
My bad.
Yeah, it wasn't
totally misinterpreted what I read there. Then
no, it's okay, because we had like, there were other things, like we had a keyboard player also. She was kind of part of the early lineup, but she quit, and like we never replaced her. But it was, basically like we kind of had that early lineup, and then we were a trio for a little while, and then we got another guitar player. Like to explain it in great detail, which I feel like I'm unnecessarily doing now. We essentially had like a sort of early lineup and a later lineup. So yeah, it wasn't, when you spread it across 10 years, it wasn't really that. It's not as involved as it looks on paper, I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah, because if I had I guess the way I read it, it just sounded like, oh, like damn, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, I don't know. I'm not trying to sound like there was a lot of drama. I'm just saying, I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, there was totally some drama. Absolutely. But no, we started. It's like we started with 4. We got a 5th. Then one of them quit. One of them was fired. We got 3. Then it was 3. Then we added a 4th again. Then when we were 3, the 3rd one was fired. Then we added another 4th one, and then we broke up. Is essentially how it goes without naming names.
Right. Damn. So when you make those changes, how much does that affect the music, like performance wise? If you were to perform,
it has always made it better.
Oh.
Yeah, it never makes it worse.
Okay.
Sometimes it's addition by subtraction. In the case where, like, we had when we had to like get rid of people, I'd say like fired, but when we had to get rid of people, it was absolutely like addition by subtraction at the time, because sometimes certain people like hinder others' abilities to like kind of put their own true selves into the forefront, and it's not anything anyone does on purpose. I think it's just sometimes like mixing a goldfish and a tropical fish just doesn't make sense, and because they kind of each, and because each one sort of inhibits the other, but it has always worked out in favor of the growth of the art being created.
No, that's beautiful, man. You're a writer. It's funny because to a very small percentage, I can kind of relate because I went through my phase of trying to start a band with my friends, and I mean we were mostly, at least I remember covering a lot of music, but I mean just trying to recruit friends who are who play the right instruments that we need. It's like, I don't know, I guess it's like everyone has an ego, so and it's even fucking worse when you're a group of teenagers.
Of course
I
you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, but I think anytime when you gather a group of, let's just say, a bunch of creatives, there's always going to be that
well, the best thing you can do in any kind of artistic or creative situation is not be afraid to surrender your power. Like that's the easiest thing. Like that's the easiest way to keep everybody else happy and on board and feeling like they're part of it, because it's not just feeling like you're part of it but you're not. It's creating space for everybody to actually be part of it and gain power and gain say and gain agency. If you just do it all yourself, then like, I mean, you could, and that's one way to do it. And there are a lot of people who have been really successful doing that. But I think in my experience, and this is just me speaking for myself, but the best way you could do it is to, give a little bit of that up. If you're the kind of person who derives joy from like watching others succeed, then that'll give you something, or like you will get something out of that too.
No, that's
because it's nothing but like a gain if you think about it. Because if you're putting your ego ahead of everything, you're never going to see the full potential of what somebody else can bring to the table, and then you're just kind of hindering the whole project.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. You're a band, but you're a team. So everyone's got to, play their part, but also allow themselves some room to be able to do the necessary thing that they're put in place to do. Not put in place,
exactly.
But,
to create.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's great. That's definitely something really important to keep in mind for anyone tuning in. If you, anytime if you're going to start a big project that's going to involve a group of many talented individuals, that's something to definitely be open.
Because think about it too. These are you're spending literally years of your life on this, pursuing whatever it is you want to pursue, whether it's your own sort of creative fulfillment, or you want to try to do something a little more superficial, like, you know, air quotes, get famous, or achieve some sort of like list of, you know, what you might call professional goals, or artistic goals. Like, you're spending years of your life. Like, why not assemble a team that's there to all kind of have a shared goal with you, instead of like just making it all about you all the time? And then, you know, when you really need an ally, when you need a teammate, and you look around and everyone's like, well, you're the one who does everything, so what do you want to do? And the only thing you really need right in that moment is you know, a teammate. Like, and you kind of look around and you don't have one.
Damn.
It's true.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
At least, Lisa, you've have you also been in a position where you've been playing in multiple bands?
I was.
I've seen the first time.
I was in 2 projects at once, which was this, and I was in another band called Dave Mooney and Viewers Like You, and I was with them for a little while. That kind of got me back into the music scene after I left that first band that you were familiar with way back, and way back. But yeah, it's been a minute. But I was kind of going back and forth a little bit between them, and then kind of parted my ways with the first project, because this just felt more like the place I wanted to be.
Yeah, and the music you were playing then was a lot different.
Yeah,
it was punk, right? Weren't you in wasn't a punk band?
It was like alternative rock kind of thing, and I was on guitar, and yeah,
man, that is so long ago.
I know.
was I no, wait, I was thin. Okay, because like the way I gauge time, because I used to be fat, so the way I gauge time was like, hey, wait, was I fat then, or was I I think that was after I lost some weight. But yeah, that's damn, time is fucking flying. So how did you guys come across each other, you and Brian? How did you guys?
So it's funny because I was in my last band and we needed to fill in for bassist, and Brian knew Dave at the time, and he came into the project, helped out a little bit, and that's how we got to know each other.
Not very much. I think it was like 2 shows, I want to say, maybe 3, something like that. But it's funny too, because the first show I played with you guys, you weren't there. And I remember that because it was in New York City.
Oh.
And I had only, maybe we practiced together at Dave's house, I think.
Like once.
And then, yeah. And then Dave was like, oh, Lisa's not actually going to play at that show, which was fine. We didn't really know each other. So I was like, oh, bummer. You know, this was not the same, you know, this was not the same Lisa that, like, you know, I see all the time now. So I was like, oh, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
And so yeah, no, but it was and I think we finally played together at like the Saint or something.
Yeah, we played at the Saint, and it was like the first time me, you, and like another person, we were all playing for the first time, unpracticed, like just practiced on our own, and just, this is a live practice now with the full band happening. So I met him through there, and then he asked if anybody was interested in playing keys on Facebook. And I said, yeah, why not? Sure.
Oh shit.
And that's how that happened.
Now, Brian, are you from Asbury Park? Because I I see you're pretty involved with the community. You speak of the community and in the interview that I read.
Which interview did you read?
The one in March. Shoot, I don't have the link open on my computer. It's on my phone.
Oh, that's okay. March.
Or not an article. I'm sorry. The
I'm just curious.
the NJ Indie article.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a pretty okay. Yeah, that's a pretty recent one.
Yeah.
So I okay, yeah, no. So to answer your question, no, I am not from here.
Okay.
I grew up on Long Island.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I'm not from here.
And you're still
so yeah, that's your what's that?
And you're still out there in Long Island?
Oh no, I live in the Asbury Park area now.
Okay.
And I have for I mean, I've lived in New Jersey for 20 years.
Okay.
So but I grew up on Long Island.
Oh,
and yeah, so but that's Long Island is kind of like if like a strip mall from Tom's River was like, and it was like was about 3 hours wide and a half hour, or I'm sorry, 3 hours long and about a half hour wide, like geographically speaking, and like 98.5% Caucasian, but like but also like the worst kinds of it too. Like just the most like malignant, the most malignant, the most malignant whites are from Long Island.
My wife would get a kick out of hearing that. She went to Hofstra.
Hofstra. Yeah, I turned them down. I said no. Thank you to Hofstra. True story. I got accepted, and I was like, nah, I'll pass.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
But that had a lot less to do with going to Hofstra than me wanting to. Then like that had less to do with any disrespect for Hofstra, which is a fantastic school, than it was for me just wanting to get off Long Island. Like I had just sort of had enough, and I was like, and I mean, not that like a move to New Jersey is, I didn't move to like Beirut, so it's not like I decided to relocate to someplace exotic, but I decided to relocate to someplace just far away enough that you'd really have to think about it before going there. It's like three hours is just long enough where you're like, you know what? Nah, that's a little too long. So, so there was like a method there. I didn't want to be that far away from my family. But I wanted to be far enough away. Yeah. You wanted to put like just enough of a physical barrier between your past and your present.
That's
but yeah, like no disrespect to your wife or to Hofstra or anything.
Oh no.
Like I said, Hofstra is an excellent school.
Yeah.
And a bunch of my friends that I grew up with went there, but it was more like if I had gone there, I feel like I would have ended up. Excuse me. I think if I had gone there, I would have ended up staying there, and I didn't want to be. I wanted to at least not be Brian. He was born here, he lived here, and he's going to die here. I wanted to at least like die someplace else, even if it was only like a couple hours away. I didn't want to die on Long Island. They don't. That soil is harsh.
Malignant, even.
Malignant soil. That's
interestingly enough, Lisa, that's the name of Lisa's new hardcore band.
Yeah, Malignant Soil, if you didn't know.
Yeah, Lisa's starting like a thrash metal project, and that's what it's going to be called.
I mean, it's not a terrible idea.
You might have something there, Brian.
Yeah, I might.
Funny you say that though, because that's partially why we moved to Richmond, Virginia, because I wanted to get away from my family.
Oh, well, yeah. I didn't want to get away from my family per se.
No,
like, I love my family. It just was more. But yeah, it was. I didn't want to get away from them per se. I just wanted to. You just want to put a little distance. That's all. So that when I do get to see them, I get to enjoy it more. And I love Richmond, by the way. Richmond's a great. I've only been there a couple of times, but
it's a
Richmond's like a really extremely and very underrated. Like people sleep on Richmond a lot, and they really shouldn't. I haven't been there in like 10 years, but now you make me kind of want to go back.
Well, I was going to ask later at the end if we'll be seeing the extensions make their way to RVA. Hey, that rhymed. But
I mean, the last time I was in Richmond, I remember there was a pretty baller record store, and I bought an album called Pussycats by Harry Nilsson. And that was my last Richmond experience, like 10 years ago. And but if you have ideas, you let us know.
Yeah.
There's a venue. It's actually where I caught COVID.
Good. So that's
because my friend does sound. I was telling Lisa earlier that my friend does sound engineering for this band and they've been touring, and they're swinging by. So we went to go see them. I can't remember the name because it's like one of those so and the so and so's.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like great band. The venue. Oh damn, it's like a theater. I feel like it starts with a C, but I'll when I come across it, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Maybe that can be a spot you guys can look into, and I'll definitely come out and see you guys perform. I actually listened to your latest single with a K.
Woo!
It's pretty popping. I like it.
What did you think of it?
Well, all right. So
this matters now. If you don't like it, we're done in this business.
Then we're gonna take it. I'll take it down.
Ladies and gentlemen and non-binary, this is where it gets real serious. What I think of this new single, first song I've heard by you guys, to be honest.
Wow.
No, I enjoyed it, to be honest. It was refreshing, and I say refreshing because lately I've been really just going back into my hip hop roots, been like really stuck in it, and I just listen to the same shit. It's like, so it takes a lot for me to branch out into a new artist, and then because like when I find someone new and I really like their stuff, then I go in hard for like X amount of months, and then go back to whatever I was listening to before then or whatever. So I listened to your track, and then I listened to two other ones from the previous your EP that were featured in that article that I read. And those were, I'm really bad at describing people's music just because I'm bad with words. I'm not a
How did it make you feel?
And yet here we are on a podcast.
The best way I could say it's fun. It's definitely so with a K. I think it's very groovy. And I know you guys are kind of like how do you describe your genre? Like a pop?
We're a music band.
Yeah, I hate like trying to.
We're indie. That's what it is. Indie encompasses all the things that we feel like we want to explore.
No, that's cool. It's just that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like in the early mid 2000s, it was easier to there were less categories. Like everything is so much more experimental nowadays. Right. So it's just like things were just emo. Things were just metal,
Oh
things
yeah.
pop, things were just alternative. It was so easily distinctible, but I think I just made up that word. But
You're
nowadays,
fine.
everything is like just kind of a mix of different influences, which is beautiful. But shit, if you're gonna ask me to describe something, it's gonna be fucking terrible. I'm a visual artist, all right. If that says,
Well, it's not so much you needing to describe it. It's more of a, do you like it?
Oh, I know. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't say that first. I enjoyed it. What I was saying earlier, that was
He's
my
like, that being said, it's malignant soil, and that's how I describe it. It's
Hey
fine.
now. But that word is too big for me to remember. I'm like, Maleficent? What?
That was a movie.
No, I dig the track, and it's definitely it's a song that's pulling me in, so I'm looking forward to checking it. You know, when you start, well, it brings me this question: is this LP really gonna be 22 songs?
You betcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how many. You are not the only person that thinks we're like joking.
Yeah,
Well,
no.
I just don't. Well, I don't. Well, so I wasn't sure if you're serious or not because I just don't know you that well. So I don't know if you are a like, you know, I'm a funny guy, so I'll let you guys decide if I'm joking.
Yeah, right.
No, like you just seem that kind of suave type of dude. So I'm only judging from pictures and like what I'm reading from your quotes and stuff. Like,
I mean, that's a fair assessment.
Well, I'll say
I'm
this.
projecting,
I think
basically.
when it comes to like the creative part, when it comes to the sort of like the like when it comes to the sort of like the business of actually making stuff, I'm like deadly serious about it, and I rarely joke about it, because like you know, like I said earlier, these are pursuits that we spend years on, and I think that if you want your work taken seriously, you have to kind of treat it seriously, and you have to present it seriously, and you have to have the sort of, you know, the sort of confidence in your own work and your own ability that you know, that you have to have such a confidence in your own ability to create that work, that serious work, that yeah, you know, when you say, yeah, we're going to make a 22 song double LP, yeah, in the age of singles, that, you know, a person puts a single out and just lives on it for like a year, it's like, yeah, you know what, we're going to do pretty much the exact opposite of that. It almost feels like, you know, kind of it almost feels, I wish this is, I have no illusions on like being famous, but it would be really great if we were, because then like, and the only reason why would be then I could have like a bigger platform to be like, yeah, I dare you. Like I dare anybody, like, because that's what I would use it for. Like I would use it to basically try to like goad other people into pushing themselves harder. Because I think like it's so easy to do one song. Like, I'm sorry, like it just is. It's so easy. And like, it's such like oh, you know, great, I did a song, like pat on the head. Like, yeah, we did one song, but there's so much more that we're doing. And, you know, you put out one song and that's it. And it almost feels like, you know, we don't really allow ourselves to say as much as we are able to, or could, or maybe even should. So yeah, like I wish we had a bigger platform so that I could try to like goad people into pushing themselves a little harder, like saying, like, I know you have
drop 24 songs. Go ahead,
well,
let's see.
But just to be like, I know you have more to say. I know there's more in you. So like, what are you afraid of? Like, what are you so afraid of? Like, we're so afraid of like we're convincing, we're like appealing to robots right now. You know, we're like it's like we're trying to, you know, we're like these jesters trying to make robots, like trying to amuse robots. And that doesn't make sense or appeal to me very much. So like, why even bother?
Right.
Why not do something that, you know, you enjoy without, like, I hate math. Like, I don't want to do math.
Same.
You know? I don't want to be like, well, here's my Instagram analytics, and like I get the most engagement between, you know, 10 a.m. and noon Eastern. So like I better time my posts so that I get the most fucking fake hearts. Or we better or you know, we better time our releases according to this or this or that. It's like, can't we just make shit and put things out and be inspired and try to inspire others?
Absolutely.
Dude, speaking my language. And I know like that makes me sound like kind of a dick. But it's also like it, but
it's like, well, if you're a dick, then I'm a dick.
Well, it's like, I know that makes me sound kind of self-important, but again, like when it comes to this stuff, why not? Why, you know, I think you got to take the work seriously, and the other stuff, like the sort of the kind of circus around it, you don't have to take quite as seriously.
Yeah, I've definitely found myself at a point trying to follow the rules of the algorithms and shit, and like scheduling your posts, and it's like it's just like, whatever, I'm just gonna put it out.
Yeah, you just put it out there.
Yeah, if it's whatever I have, if it's ready to be seen, I'll just put it out. You know, I mean, podcast is different, but with art, it's like once I have it, I'd love to put it out as soon as possible.
Yeah, and you know, I think you can tell, like, when people put something out and are happy with it, and you know, I think you can tell when a song or when an album sounds inspired versus sounds belabored. Like, you know, I mentioned, you know, we talked a little bit about the Paper Jets before, and like I think that the last album we did, I'm proud of the material and the work I got to do with that group of people. And I speak only for myself. Like, I listen to that and I hear my parts of it, not the other guys. I hear my parts of it, and I sound it to me, to my ears, I sound tired and checked out and disinterested and not really at my best. And then I hear this new song or a couple other things that have happened more recently, and it definitely feels, or even earlier stuff with the Paper Jets, where it's like, oh yeah, like I know I'm not a very good actor, so I don't hide it well. So I feel like, you know, I don't make it that hard to tell, like, okay, yeah, he sounds like he's interested here. He sounds like he's just kind of going through it here.
Yeah, you're just playing the notes, but you're not really feeling the music. You're like,
exactly,
not in the rhythm of it.
Yeah.
Damn, that's deep. It's deep, man. How'd you guys come up with the extensions? I'm always interested in how bands come up with names.
So do we want the real version, or do we want the version we tell people?
Well, what do you think, folks? Let me hear you. Come on. They want to hear the real version.
Well, like, I mean, we can give them both. What do you say, Lise?
Wait, hold on. Oh, both? Yeah. They want to hear
both. That's on you, okay, sir.
All right. So when I was in the Paper Jets, we started. This is before Lisa joined. We started as a trio, just guitar, bass, drums, and we didn't have a name. I had gotten a show and we were Pete, our drummer, he wanted to do something, and I had a couple of songs I had written, and I was like, well, here, I have some non-Paper Jets songs that, like, if we could learn it, we could do this show. And it was cool. We played at the Wonder Bar, which was a pretty good first place to play. You know, that was a pretty good place to play a first show. And so we just billed it under my name, like Brian Erickson. And, you know, because I didn't know. I was singing, I wrote the songs, and that was it. But we all had a good time. And my friend Jesse Elliott, my best friend, goes, you should be Brian Erickson and the Extensions, like Elvis Costello and the Attractions. And I was like, I actually really like that, and I think it sounds cool. And that was kind of even the vibe that like that EP that we have, like that was almost kind of even the vibe we were going for. But what ended up happening was I kind of propositioned the band, and I was like, okay, so we could do this, and, you know, like, it'll just, you know, how much earlier we were saying, like, surrender your power or don't, and be the person that has to end up, like, kind of just doing everything. We actually had that discussion, and it was the band who said to me, please drop your name off of the front of this, because we actually really like the music, and we think we could bring a little more to the table, and we'd like to really participate in it and be a proper band, not just Brian and, you know, whoever the fuck is around. Like, we don't want to be that. We want to be a real band. And that was also around, like, that was probably a little bit before you joined, Lisa. I think you were kind of just, I mean, Lisa joined within a few months. It's not like we were together for a real long time. I almost, you know, Lisa's been Lisa joined close enough where you're a founding member anyway.
Yeah, I'm an OG.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so it just took us. It's like when you're putting together a sports team, and, you know, you sign a few players during, like, right as soon as the season, and, like, Lisa kind of came in right at the end of spring training, like right before the season really started. It was more like that. Like, you don't build a team in one or two weekends. Sometimes, you know, you search around for other free agents, and, you know, Lisa signed on, right, like, just days before the start of the season. So that's kind of how I look at it. But so they were basically like, we don't want to be Brian Erickson, and I don't think Lisa was interested in getting involved in somebody's proper name, and because she had just, you know, come from that. And so we're like, okay, we'll just be the Extensions. But the version we tell everybody was, because we were involved in other bands, it was just a quote extension of that other stuff. You know, it was just an extension of the other stuff we were doing. I mean, if I could be quite honest, I've never liked our name, because it was sort of repurposed from something that sounded cool and then stopped sounding cool. But, like, because I think the Extensions are kind of a silly name, that I don't really, you know, that it doesn't sound like anything. It doesn't really appeal to me. Like, it's not a cool looking word. You know, it doesn't say much about how we sound. It's not mysterious. It's kind of just very, like, it's sort of weirdly normal sounding.
It just kind of fell into place. I mean, it is what it is.
I'd say
it kind of just is what it is.
One's taste in music.
I mean, it's
That was terrible. I'm sorry. I love puns.
It's okay. We will forgive you. This once.
Brian's like, I gotta go.
We just see just a picture of his face. We just talk for him, and like Brian's like, "Yeah, this was a great show, guys."
But
no.
So yeah, that's all. That's where the name came from, and that's like the two versions, the long version and the short version. And I don't know. And I feel like I'm like showing too many cards. I always show too many cards when you get me in an interview. Well, because it's like, oh yeah, I'm in this band. Like, it's like, you know, you get me talking, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in this band that I really, really like a lot. Like the people and the things the people are creating. It's like, oh yeah, I'm in this cool band that I really enjoy being in, but like, not really a big fan of the name. Could really do without the name.
It's like the Foo Fighters, you know? Grohl
Yeah,
was
but
not
the
a big fan of the name, but like they loved each other, you know?
Yeah, and I think we all kind of have that now. I think the five of us all very much. I actually think that's true. I think we all very much, love each other and enjoy being around one another and stuff.
That's beautiful, man. True. No, I love that. I don't know. I've been talking to a lot of like solo artists, so to listen to like the band chemistry. Also, 'cause I've had friends that are in bands too, so and just I guess like, just seeing the shit they've gone through and whatnot. I mean, they're no longer together, unfortunately. So to hear your side of it and like how you guys seem to mingle and get along and kind of how things are working out so far. How like what's the writing process like in terms of I don't know, generally or even I don't know, or just like if you're like, all right, we're gonna write a new song, what is sort of your process and going on about it? Either of you can answer. Sorry, I didn't Brian or Lisa.
Well, what ends up usually happening is Brian brings us a very rough, like, this is what I've got. And we just add all the colors to it. So he brings us the sketch.
Okay. I was
And
just gonna
we
say
color it in.
So he brings in the line work and then you fill in the colors and the shades.
Yep. And we add in the shading, we add in, the highlights and everything. And it just comes together, which is really nice.
Nice. And it just, I mean, and that just seems to be working out in that flow. That's beautiful.
Absolutely. That's what's great is that there hasn't been too much like, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. It's been very like, here's my song, guys. Have at it. And we're like, hold on, give us a sec. And we all like bring our own piece to it. And it just, I would say 95% of the time just comes together. And you get your songs here and there where we're like, trying to figure it out, working through it through practice. Maybe some things work, some things don't. But like, that's what's really cool about this project is that everybody is so good at their craft. And most of us, besides maybe one member, is multi-instrumentalist. So we can hear things and bring things to the table. So somebody can look at me and be like, oh, wait, try like a Rhodes sound. And I'll look at the guitar player and be like, it'd be cool, add like, like a heavier effect here or something. And like, we can kind of, if we really needed to, we can kind of create something, but usually everybody brings something themselves that like I said, 95% of the time just fits. And it's great that way to me because it's like everybody gets to be creative. Everybody gets to like bring their craft to the table. And it's not like this expectation where it's like, you better bring something. It's like, we usually can bring something. And if we don't, we can bounce off of each other. Like sometimes the drummer will be like, not really sure what to do here. Should I try this? And we'll be like, oh, that sounds really good. Keep going with that. And we just kind of like feed off of that like energy that we have with each other. And there's no real ego. It's like, we know what we're doing, but we don't have to like, we don't have to go swinging things around to like explain like what we're doing. And that's what's nice.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to add to that, Brian?
No, I think Lisa made a good point there. That should be left as it is. I think Lisa said it. Lisa summed it up perfectly.
You did say it quite elegantly, and I
don't have anything to add.
I imagine with this 22 song drop, like that leaves even more room of showing more of your, well, yeah, you like everyone's flavor into the music.
Mhm.
So nothing is like, I feel like with this many tracks, like nothing is being left out, because like
Exactly.
maybe what didn't work for this song is going to work better for another song, or something like that, right? So it's like,
Yep.
yeah,
Exactly.
you're literally putting out everything you poured into it, like nothing, because like, you know how, like how, I don't know if bands still do these, but they have like the unreleased tracks and stuff. Like that's not going to be the case with this. I guess you're going to have everything out.
We actually just talked about this in the studio last weekend,
Oh shit.
where I said where I was like, I don't do B-sides anymore. I learned a lesson in the paper. Well, that's the thing too. The Paper Jets, I bring them up often, but they were very much a good learning experience.
Yeah.
Because we were making this album called "We Are All Strange Friends" that came out in 2014, and that album is probably like that album for me was like a big touchstone, where it was, you know, like that was kind of, we sort of, after I told you we had the early lineup that was sort of people quit or got fired or whatever. That album is basically just me and the drummer. So I got to put like my whole ass self on everything. Like I am all over the thing. But what happened was we recorded, and I'm really proud of that one. And you could hear, if you listen to the first record that we did, and then that one, it's like, wow, like you're like, wow, Brian both learned how to, it sounds like Brian relearned how to sing and relearned how to play his instrument in like the years between one and the other. But the mistake I made was we recorded too many songs. We recorded, I think, 14 for an 11-song album, which doesn't sound like that much. But it came down to a sort of, not a dispute, but just a discussion between myself and Frank, the drummer, where we're like, I want this one, he wants that one. And we ended up having to like negotiate. And that helped me sort of make better decisions later, because there's a song or two on that record that I'm like, I could really, really do without. And then, you know, a couple songs that didn't get on the record that we put out later on an EP that I think would have fit so much better. But the point is, now it's like, bring the songs that you want on the album, period.
Exactly.
Don't be like, oh yeah, maybe this is a B-side, maybe we could use this for something else later. It's like, nope, fucking bring the stuff you have, make your decision. And that way too, you retain a little bit of say over how that's going to go. Because I learned that even, Lisa, when we made our EP, when we made Bellicose, and we were kind of like, oh, well, we were thinking like, how do we sequence it? What song goes first? What song goes last? And we ultimately, and I think I was like, no, it goes fast, medium, slow, fast, medium, slow.
Yeah.
Like, that's how the EP has to go. Because we're like, oh, well, maybe we start it with this. And it's like, oh, so what? Slow, medium, fast. It's like, no, fast, medium, slow, fast, medium, slow. Right? In terms
and
of
these things don't really matter to me, and I'm just like, do whatever. I like all the songs, so it sounds great no matter what.
But I'll say this though. So, you know, but in all those experiences, and as the one who, like Lisa said, brings the outline before everybody else like colors it all in. I think it's not inappropriate as that person to also bring the outline of the whole record, you know, the sort of the macro outline as well as like the micro outline of the songs. I think it's still appropriate to say, hey, you know what? And this is what the album is going to be. This is the order of the songs. And in this instance, I got to give props to our original bass player, Kevin, who unfortunately had to quit because of like he had a bunch of work stuff going and everything. So you know, he had to leave the band before we started recording this. But he had the idea of like, why don't we just make a big record where all the songs run into each other? And in order to do that, you have to put songs in a certain order that makes sense.
Exactly.
So for me, as the person that like was tasked with like bringing the sketches and, you know, kind of writing this, and I put very distinctly equal importance between writing and arranging. And for the best example of that is if you go on YouTube and you type in John Lennon help demo, it's like a slow piano. There's like a little clip of John singing help at the piano, and it's this really slow, like dirgy ballad. And obviously, like the Beatles song is super upbeat and like fast, and exactly. Yeah. And that's probably the best example of writing versus arranging, and why they're equally important. So I think the idea though is to say, you know what, I have this outline of this album in this order. And then it kind of just, and weirdly enough, then like people tend to not really question it as much, because you're like, yeah, this is the album, these are the songs, this is how it's going to go, and now we all have to kind of fill in our spaces. And I think, Lise, if I could assume, I feel like people kind of appreciate that, where it's like, okay, well, those decisions have already been made, so like that's one less thing for us to have to worry about later.
Oh yeah, like that was never like an issue for me. I think sometimes maybe like the one person who might combat you on that is maybe the drummer Pete.
Yeah.
We love Petey. He is the band daddy, we call him, because everything has to have the final like, is this okay? And he goes,
you
okay.
Always look for your father. Yeah, we always
look to father.
Search for your father's approval.
Yeah, we look to the father's approval. But because we're not making fun of him in a way that's negative. It's actually, he has a good ear and he has a good eye for everything that, like, you know, sounds good, looks good, and he just he might be the only one who says, hey guys, like, you know, I'm looking at this on a much deeper level than maybe the rest of us would. I'm like, yeah, sounds great, it's fine. But Pete's in there like, no man, like it's got to be perfect. And it's actually his perfectionism that like helps us in our growth, and we appreciate it. So he would be the only person who might have a say and go, wait, but the flow of this song would really work well with this. And the rest of us are like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. Otherwise, yeah, we don't really care.
I kind of see that though, in terms of, if we're talking like the flow of an album, like when you play from track 1 to the end to the last track, like that, the tempo, if it's like kind of like what you're saying, high and lows. Yeah, I mean, I guess if it depends, like how, if you're like telling a story and like how you want this story to play out musically, I don't know.
Yeah, and just grabbing the attention from people. Like same thing with like a movie. You don't want to be bored. You know, it's all like slow ballads the whole way through, and then finally you get to like that banger at the end. You know, you kind of want to have like those moments of like, oh, okay, and then you come back in, and then you're like, oh, okay, and then you have like, you know, some movement there where you're engaged, but not so much where it's like a Transformer movie where it's like there's just explosions going off every like 2 seconds, and then you finally get to like the nice ballad at the end. But you want to have some movement.
Yeah.
Well, think about
Michael Bay. That's what I was trying to think of.
The best, but it's like the best movies and the best albums and things like that. They kind of hook you right away. Think about I watched this YouTube series called Lessons from the Screenplay, or this YouTube blog called Lessons from the Screenplay. And they actually there was one where they related opening shots of films to opening notes of music. Like, go back to the Beatles example, and if you put on Help, right, the album, the LP, the first thing you hear is 4 grown men say, like, yelling the word help. Like, that's immediately, you know, like you drop the needle and like, help, I need somebody. And that's like immediately got your attention.
Gotcha.
With like a set, not even, it doesn't even, you know, within a fraction of a second. Or that Led Zeppelin album, the first Led Zeppelin album, Good Times, Bad Times.
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, oh shit, what's going on here? You know, what's happening? And you just can't help but want to get drawn in further and further and further. Which is why on our records, like there's always that first song is always, whether it's the Paper Jets or us or, you know, whatever, like our, you know, we the track one is such an important track one, side one is so important.
Yeah.
In it to grab people's attention, that like you can't, like, if you can recover, but like it makes it harder. Like you automatically start like having to kind of regain people's trust. So
that's like a book for me. Like if I'm not a big reader. I'm more of like a knowledge reference, self-help kind of person. But if I am going to read a book, if you don't have me within the first few chapters, you've lost me. So like you need to bring me in like right away.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to audiobooks. I don't even read. I don't retain
totally
well when I
fine
read.
and valid. Yeah.
But no, I get you.
And that's
like,
fine.
Yeah, if those first few pages or chapters, they don't grab you right away, it's gonna, you know,
it's
hopefully
harder to keep you.
Yeah,
You know.
Sure.
Even think about the single we just put out, right? You know, where it kind of has the little opening thing, which is obviously like just a straight like send up of Prince, right? You know, like the little groove.
Yeah.
But then, you know, it does the little, you know, the little guitar groove, and then we kind of all woo, and then the song just bang comes right in, and you're like, oh wow, okay. So again, within the first like 2 seconds, like we have your attention. And that is not by accident.
That's brilliant. And that, you know what? Yeah, that totally makes sense. Because that is one of the things that really stood out for me too, is that, like you know, so like, so that, and then even just the entire rhythm of the song, it's, I just felt it was like a group, like, I don't know, because like I like to dance, so it's like something I can just like groove out to and just like dance to it. Perfect. It's like a real fun song. And yeah, it's the first track I've heard, you know, so I'm actually excited to check out Bellicose. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to check that out. And now is that one sound like what you're going to be putting out, or is this one of those albums that kind of has like a different sound, a different tone, or however you want to put it?
Different sound, different tone. Written written more deliberately. Bellicose was we kind of stumbled into like, oh wow, okay, I guess we're a band now. And here are half a dozen songs that I personally had written, including like a pair of songs that one of them I actually put out. There was like a solo version of it that I put out on like a compilation like a year or two before. And another song was like an old, like not a rejected Paper Jets song, but just a song that I had written for the Paper Jets, but it was at like around the time that we're recording our last album, and it was like, this is never gonna, we're never gonna get to this because we're gonna be done after this. So but yeah, so you know, so
also different member on it,
you know, like 30 odd% of the record was, you know, 30 odd% of the record was like kind of written prior to the band even existing. So yeah, now everything is written very specifically like to and for everybody here. And, you know, yeah, they're like, Bellicose is more of like an indie rock record.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a little more all over the place. But it's still going to have plenty of things like that. It's just, I don't know, everything is going to be a little more deliberate this time around.
Yeah. And we had a different bass player the first album, different type of sound. And like that matters because, if you don't realize how much bass you're paying attention to when you hear a song, it really does change the sound. And
absolutely,
Kevy had more of like
R.I.P. Kevy.
He had more of like a jammy, progressive kind
King
of
Gizzard
sound.
and the Lizard Wizard.
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, yeah. And then we have Will, who is like, he's got a little bit of everything going on. He's got a little cauldron of different influences, but he has a lot more of like a more funky groove to him. Yeah, so like definitely different sounds.
Yeah,
for each project, and they're both amazing bass players. So I don't want to discredit anybody.
Yeah,
different sounds, but like
right, no,
but like
of course.
Straight up amazing bass players, like both of them.
Yeah, no disrespect to Kevy at all. Like, I mean,
he's awesome.
Kev, if Kev didn't have like his, it was basically like Kev just had a lot of like work.
It's
things,
like
a lot
personal,
of like personal work
personal
shit.
Things.
And it's like if Kev didn't have that, like he'd still be here 100%. But that's it. Like
we were just fortunate enough to find just another great bass player.
Yeah.
Just
no, I hear
out.
that.
And in between, they had to put up with me singing and playing the bass for a couple shows.
Hey.
Which my favorite thing was Lisa was like, "What the hell are you playing?"
Why you were not up to par, Lisa? Not to.
So sometimes Brian likes to experiment.
Lisa was like, "Your playing is distracting me from what I'm doing."
Damn.
We like to give each other a hard time,
but
in the best way.
You slapping the bass one.
Hey, it was sometimes you just have to do what you have to do sometimes. That's all.
Exactly.
It's like when you don't have a bass player and you need a bass player real quick. It's like, all right, well, I'll do it.
Like,
I'll try
Brian
it.
Can definitely do the thing. Sometimes, when we're playing a song, Brian wants to experiment. I'm like, what is happening right now? Stop it.
Oh, improvise.
No, it's not jam session.
Oh, that's so funny. Well,
but it's all in good fun. Like we're not like yelling at each other. I'll be like, what is happening right now?
Of course. Well, it's honestly because one of my best friends had a band called Science, and my friend who was one of the singers, and he was playing bass, and then later on they when they put out an LP, or maybe it was an EP, I get them mixed up, so my apologies.
All good.
But when they put out another album and they got another bass player in, and he was a real like prog. He was in a prog band called was it Lionel Pryor, and it was like all like this. I wouldn't.
It was called Dream Theater, and he just not
progressive, like real crazy riffs, and like he does like the plucks and stuff. He's really talented, honestly. But having him take over the bass lines, it definitely, like you were talking about, it affected the sound of the band entirely, really, because it just like not entirely, it really added a flavor to their sound. Very effective. But I just listening to your story with the bass player you guys worked with kind of just brought me back to those days, because I was very much witnessing their time when he was just joining the band, so really seeing everything kind of progress, even with their old music that they wrote without him. and then seeing how he plays into, you know, when they bring those classics up, and it's like, oh, okay, like this is what it would sound like with him instead of the singer playing. So yeah, no, that's crazy.
Yeah, especially if you're a progressive player, you really like you change the tone of everything.
Yeah, there's just something about the way they play too, huh? Right? I guess it's like, I don't want to say style, but
I mean, it is a style. Like even like progressive players usually play in a little bit more of like a technical way, where they use it to their advantage. But like that changes the tone of everything. So there might be maybe less of a, sometimes people would say like a feel, you know, but that in itself is a feel. You know, it might be like that progressive, like, oh wow, this guy's like really hitting the notes right on the mark and like in like a perfect time and blah blah. But like you might not hear the little, you know,
the
little bends, little things, little subtleties that like happen, like maybe like an off note that actually works, you know, things like that. So it's like, it's definitely a feel in itself. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, what can we expect in terms of like touring? You know, when, or actually, let me ask first. So, do you guys have a release date for the LP?
That's a Brian question.
No, we don't have any release date yet.
Okay.
I mean, we're making very good progress.
Okay.
In the studio, but this single, and we have another song that I'm not even sure. I don't know. I'm not even sure I want the other song to be the next single because it's so different than what we just put out. I might want to wait until one of these other songs is done, and put that out in between. Like it feels like maybe Big Tree might be the next single.
I love that song.
Yeah, well, I think that might be, but we haven't.
We're just like,
yeah, we're gonna drop that title.
The one
that feels. If we could get that one done, I feel like that would be a good next single. That would be a little more in the vein of what we just put out. Not quite as dancey, but it's still got it's a little slower, but it's still got like a groove. The other song that we have that's like done. And could come out like tomorrow, is definitely more like a bellicose type of like indie rock song, and it is
with a 90s vibe that I love.
Ooh, okay. Yes. I'm with that. Hell yeah.
But
very Duncan chic.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I mean, I don't mean
in
that
a good
pejoratively. Like I've seen Duncan Chic live before. But I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. But it's, you know,
either way, it's a good song.
Yeah, but it's just different. Like it feels like it'd be a little bit of a jarring transition from this like super dance groove to this, you know, this kind of like rock song. But you know, that's you know, maybe the third single or something. I feel like we are, even though I'm saying.
Oh no! Did we leave? Did he?
I think he got cut out.
Oh no!
Are those the ones that have like caffeine in them too, or are they just?
No, it's just
soda water.
It's just sparkling water, and you know what I like about liquid comes from the Alps. And with every purchase, 10% will go towards plastic pollution. Death to plastic, murder your thirst, and help the environment. Liquid
He's back.
Hey.
Yay!
Did I get booted? What happened?
I don't know what happened. You were just in the middle of your response, and then you just cut out. Like,
oh, sorry.
No, it's like we thought maybe your phone died or something.
No, hell no, my phone does not die.
He was asking how many singles we were trying to release.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, a bunch.
That's why I told him, I was like, I don't deal with the outer workings of things. I deal with the inner workings. So that's a Brian question.
It'll probably be like on. So okay, so I was talking to a friend of mine who is like a songwriter friend of mine who's very much like a strategic thinker in terms of this stuff, and is really good at like the socials and everything like that, but puts out really good music. And I told her, I'm like, we have a 22 song album. How many singles do you think should come of this? And this is a person with like tens of thousands of followers, who has like toured the world before. Like, this is somebody that I find to be a credible person in that respect. And her conclusion was 15.
Wow.
Because you should be, if you have 22 songs, you should put 15 out of them out as singles. And I don't.
Seems like so many, though.
I mean, but if you have, it does. I personally thought like 8, like 4 per record. Like which even 8 seems like a lot, but you know, you think about a record that comes out like, yeah, but you think about any record that comes out, anybody that puts out a full length now in, you know, in the year of our Lord 2022, and they're putting out 4 or 5 singles ahead, you know, starting several months ahead of time. You know, they're starting like 6 months ahead of time, and they're dropping a single, and they're letting that live for like 2 months, and then they're putting something out, and they're letting that live for like a month. That's a month and a half. Usually
I hear like maybe 2 singles off an album. Is that just me? I don't know.
Yeah, go on Spotify. Look at anybody that's put Olivia Rodrigo,
that's
Lizzo.
True. She's got like 4 or 5.
Look at
a lot of the upcoming artists I follow. They do that. They'll drop a single out every few months with, like,
you know, or even. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying they'll drop a few until and then they have a date for their full length.
Yeah, or even a more established, like a long established like indie rock band like Spoon, who've been around for 30 years. They put out an album back in February, and I think they put out like 3 or 4 singles ahead of that too. I think Father John Misty, same thing. He puts out like 4 singles ahead of the record. And what happens is that last single comes out like a week before the album does. So it's an interesting.
Maybe that's on par.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about even albums from the 90s, right? Look at like Jagged Little Pill had 6 singles.
That's true, actually.
You know, albums from the 90s, you know, Nevermind, 10, you know, classic albums that have sold tens of millions of copies, right? Had, you know, multiple singles. How many, you know, like think of Nevermind, the entire first half of that album were just hits. You know, it was like fucking Hard Day's Night or something. It's just that whole record.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I guess we're releasing an album's worth of singles.
Well, no, but I mean, I think, you know, I'm not saying we have to have 15. That would be like, you know, 8 for one LP, 7 for another.
Yeah.
But, you know, we could do 4 and 4 or 5 and 5 or, you know, 3 and 5 or whatever. Like, we can do it however we want. But I do think like striking that balance of engagement and attention and not losing, you know, the reasons why we're doing this in the first place. Like, again, this is more for just keeping people engaged than anything else, not just trying to like play a game with a damn robot. Like, I don't, you know, I'm not interested in that. I'm more interested in what people think of it.
Robots.
And it's so funny because that's why we have people like Brian and Pete and stuff who pay attention to these things, and I don't.
No, that's true. Hey, that's important. You got to have those like-minded individuals. They're
exactly
to the ecosystem.
Yep, they are very important cogs to this big machine.
Do you have any touring dates you guys want to announce for anyone? If anyone's tuning in that is in Jersey, definitely be on the lookout for the extensions. Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
I was actually going to say, Brian, you probably know these dates better than I would. You do.
Well, we'll be at. We've got some stuff. Our next show is going to be on June 25th at the Madison Community Arts Center with Pepe Sylvia and Bad Blooms and Alex Julia. If you're in the New York City area, we're going to be at Arlene's Grocery on July 3rd with Honey Wild. That's kind of those are our sort of two big ones right now.
Okay. Well, this is gonna be
we're doing a weekender. Okay, so
July
if this is going to be, so July 3rd, July 3rd at Arlene's Grocery in Manhattan with our good friends Honey Wild. That's going to be the one you're going to want to get to. We're also going to have we're also doing a weekender. We're going to be in Baltimore on Friday, August 5th, and Washington, D.C. on Saturday, August 6th. We're playing a place called Joe 2 in Baltimore and Rhizome in Washington, D.C. So that's what's up. And I mean, we'll have other things in between too. We've got a show on July 9th at Stasha's in Fairlawn. That's sponsored by our label Mint 400 Records, who we definitely have to make sure we give appropriate props to, because they make a lot of what we do even possible.
I'm sorry.
And,
what's the name of the
Mint 400 Records?
Mint 400 Records. Okay.
Yeah, yes. I love being a part of that. It's so good. The community around that label is wonderful. It's very inclusive. It's very it's great. Like, people help each other. People really help each other out. Like, that's, you need dates. Like, I did a little solo thing. I did a little solo tour last summer and I reached out to the label with like a month's notice. And they got us shows. They got me shows in like Boston and New Hampshire, and it was just super, super cool. And it was just through reaching out to other bands on the label, and they were like, "Yeah, we could slide this guy on one of our shows, or yeah, we could help him out." Like, it's just cool to know that you've got, that you got extended family. And actually, the Baltimore show, we've got we're playing with a Mint 400 band called Underline Passages. Who are really cool, and we're very much looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Extended family for the extensions. Nice.
You betcha.
Get it?
Yeah. Yeah. And
you had to have known that I was gonna say something.
It was.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And it should be said too, because credit where it's due. Like that little Baltimore DC weekender was booked by. They are not our label mates. Question mark? I don't know, but hoping maybe one day. But our good friends Joy on Fire, who are from
amazing.
Who just put out a really good album, like literally last week.
Okay.
Called States of America. They helped us book this, and so so it's cool when you get to go on the road with your friends too, and get to play some shows with some label mates and whatnot. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. So follow us on Instagram at The Extensions Band.
Yep.
And you get to see where we're playing, when we're playing.
Yep.
And what we're playing.
Check us out. And what we're playing. Yay!
And who we're playing and how we're playing.
Also, real quick before I forget, the venue out in Richmond is called The National. Does that ring a bell?
Oh, okay.
The National or Nationals. I think it's The National, singular. That's the venue I was talking about earlier.
Awesome. We'll check it out.
Maybe one day you guys will be in RVA.
Maybe we can do a show in which you bring a table out and showcase your art, and we do a thing.
If
you
want,
do a thing.
I mean, that's your space, so or I can do a live. I don't whatever. No, I will just be an audience member and enjoy the performance and the music. Don't
We'll
make
figure it out.
Don't make me work, Lisa.
Don't make me work. Listen, it's 2022. Everybody's got to work, even when we're trying not to work. Nothing is cheap anymore. It is what it is.
Exactly. Well, guys, I appreciate you both being on the podcast. Thank you so much for spending this
Thank
time
you.
and talking about your band and your whole history. I look forward to diving deeper into your albums, and I look forward to this double LP basically that you guys are going out with. And because I am a visual artist, I'm also interested on what you guys will be using for your album art.
Oh, cool.
I mean, I don't know if you guys already discussed that, but I'm curious on what you guys will be using. So, because I mean, back in the day with CDs and just albums, like, it was so fun, like seeing the album art as much as enjoying the music.
Absolutely.
So,
well, that's still very important to us.
Yeah.
That's not something we we take particularly lightly.
Also, as a visual artist, I find this to be very important as well. So yes.
That's right.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing what you guys are going to be up to. And for those who have been tuning in, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. Again, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and stay safe, stay healthy, stay aware, and we will see you guys on the next one. Peace out. I hope what a cliffhanger. Hold on.
It's okay. We'll see if he comes back. I don't know if you can maybe send him a message or something. Yeah. Maybe his phone died, who knows?